Yo, 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 new day, new day. I have a couple different topics I really want to talk about, so we're doing the wheel here, and seeing which one. Alright, Vinland Saga, yes, cheer. Vinland Saga, I have been watching the hell out of that recently. I don't know, I don't really know how to feel about Season 2, I'm gonna be honest. So let's start with Season 1, just going through whatever I can remember, because it's been a while and I don't want it to be forgotten before I make a yappening about it. So Season 1 is one that I've already seen. I've also read some of it, not that much. Apparently the manga starts, just in the middle of the raid. I say the raid, as if they don't make like 100 raids every episode. Some raid somewhere in France, where you only get a flashback, you only get the flashback later, whereas the flashback starts like in the anime. The flashback start. Okay, I'm so bad at explaining this. Holy shit. But I've already watched this, but it's been a long time ago, and I don't know. It's in some sort of period where I have a couple of shows that I watched that I just can't really remember from that specific time period. I can't remember which ones. But I just remember Vinland Saga being one of them. I just binged through it, and I cannot remember anything that happened. So I had to watch that again, because everyone is telling me it is peak, and it truly is peak. It's apparently still an ongoing series, so I'm kind of afraid to catch up. So I don't know if I'm gonna read beyond the anime. But so far, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It starts with Thorfinn and seeing his father die, which I thought was gonna happen in the very first episode, but it only happens in episode like 3 or something. It's Season 1 is both slower and faster than I remembered. Again, I only remembered it as being like 12 or 14 episodes. But no, it is 24 episodes. 26 episodes? 20-something episodes, both seasons are. And again, it's been kind of tedious to watch, because again, the website I watched it on was kind of ass. Not gonna lie. Now I've found a way better one. These last couple days I haven't been watching too much because I've been busy with all the other things on the talking wheel. But okay, so I don't really know. Season 1 is very, very action-packed and focused on just battle. It's almost like a battle shonen where, the final big bad guy is Askeladd. Where, I don't know, I've never seen this before. And not that it surprised me. I know the basic things, because again, I've watched it before. But I've never seen it other than Vinland Saga, where the main bad guy is basically also the father figure of... that's actually a lie. Let me correct myself. Baki is exactly what I'm talking about here. The big bad guy is the father figure, but it's also, like, he's kind of a mentor, which is also Baki. I don't know, I see a lot of similarities all of a sudden, but nonetheless, it's a very rare trope to have your main bad guy be, like, guiding the protagonist. And what's interesting about Askeladd is that I don't really know if he develops or he just accepts who he is. And just, like, he's a fucking snake, right? He's not a good person whatsoever, but he accepts who he is. And I think that's the difference between Askeladd and every other, like, mentor figure. It is what you know, kind of the opposite of what I expect. What's his name? Is his name Iroh from freaking I'm in dangerous territory now. Is my controller just not connected? Oh, it is connected now. I'm treading dangerous territory, not remembering the name of Avatar. I watched like one episode of Avatar because my siblings forced me to, and then I fell asleep because I was really sleepy, and then they got mad at me for falling asleep during the very first episode. Okay, something is wrong with my controller. Is it just not connected properly? I don't know. I've been playing Monster Hunter this entire morning, and there has not been a problem. Other than specs on... I don't know. We'll talk about that when we get to it on the talking wheel. But yeah, it is very action focused. The first season, and it essentially ends with you know, spoiler alert, I guess. It ends with Askeladd dying, of course, but not to the hands of Thorfinn, to the hands of Canute. Of all people. I really love Canute. Just, you know, you're meant to hate him in the beginning. He's just an insufferable little toddler. You know, he's a good guy, but from the perspective, like, we're following a band of thieves, right? And he's just a no good Christian kid who can't stand up for himself. And he even you know, because essentially we pick up the feelings that our boy Thorfinn has, and he fucking hates Canute because he's just an annoying brat. He can't even speak for himself before, you know, after his father figure gets killed. Very, very accidentally killed. Stabbed in the gut by Askeladd. Very accidental, of course. Askeladd would never do such a thing. But it changes. It changes a lot about him. If my controller is fucking me up, damn, I need to be at full HP at all times in order to survive all of this bullshit going on. Wow. Yeah, womp womp. So yeah, Askeladd, he fucking dies. And it's very weird to see in his final moments. He basically dies because he gets mad, he gets personal, which he has never really gotten before, because he just accepts that he is a villain. You know, I hate this controller. It's just a walking random direction sometimes. Oh well, we're taking two runs today. But it's really weird, and that's what Season 2 is focusing on, more or less, is the fact that Askeladd is dead. He has been killed, but not by Thorfinn. And, you know, Thorfinn just feels fucking empty. And, you know, he's lived from age, I think, 6, for the sole purpose of killing Askeladd. And now that Askeladd is dead, not even by his hands, he has nothing to live for, and we don't even get a reason yet as to why he's not, or why he's a slave all of a sudden. We don't really get a reason, but we can just assume that, yeah, the guy lost all his, you know, motivation for battle, and when he, you know, he was just sold probably by all of the not the king, because the king is, well, maybe the king actually. We get some background lore. You know, in the first season we get the country lore in the forefront, where we follow the Danes, the King of Denmark, shout out to Denmark, my goat. We follow King Swine, awesome name, and you know he of course dies by Askeladd's hand. That's why you know Canute needs to take revenge to you know up his game in the political standings. So you know some quick decision making there, and then boom boom bop, and Canute is very popular. Maybe even more popular than his brother, the current king. And we only get that told through, you know, just background exposition, background lore, just background mentions even. Like, it's not something we dwell upon, it's just we get told that, oh yeah, King Harald of Denmark, you know, it's... we don't get told that, oh, Canute is not king, like, it's just something you pick up. And if you... I could easily see myself forgetting all of these names if I had to wait a whole season to, you know, actually get through that. Or to get to this information, it would have lost me. But yeah, Prince Canute is now currently taking over basically the entirety of England. And I don't know, there's something about there being two kings, one of them being, you know, essentially the Danish kingdom split up between the two brothers, Harold and Canute. Canute is advancing on the entirety of England and just fucking pillaging every village he comes across, it seems. Just making a name for himself as a king not to be fucked with. And by king I mean prince, and by prince I mean army general. I don't know, he a man of many titles, right? But he's currently taking over England. It's unclear whether he has or not by now. I think he has, and it shows a little like montage of, you know, who his enemies were, how he took down the kings and the king's son and whatever. But the interesting thing is that this all has absolutely nothing to do with Thorfinn, because Thorfinn is he's just a slave by now. On the farm of a slave owner who is very interesting in and of himself. He very much has a Thor's-like backstory and, you know, personality. He was known, in his youth, he was known as the Iron Fist, which is pretty edgy, but I like it. He essentially just battled with his fist, you know, the second the battle started, he crushed his weapon and just battled with his fist, and he took down hordes of people. And it's, you know, he's pretty fucking cool, but you can sense that he hates what he's done, just like Thor's. And, you know, except Thor's did not become a slave owner. In fact, in one of the first scenes we see Thor's in, he buys a slave who is seconds away from death, because he thinks slavery is fucking terrible. Which, shout out to the man. Ooh. I hate gore. I hate gore with all of my heart. So that's pretty interesting, the difference between them there. Whereas this guy, you know, he owns slaves, but he just treats them pretty well. And of course he has like a kind of a reputation to hold on to. Not the Iron Fist part. He kind of shoved that into the background. He never mentions it to anyone. Even his own son didn't know. We get introduced to his son, who is... I hate him. I hate him. He's one of the children from Thorfinn's village. He desperately wants to go to the battlefield and prove himself, but when he actually gets the opportunity to, and you know they get a slave being... they actually get two slaves, being Thorfinn and our new boy, I was about to call him Bjorn. He is not Bjorn, he is, what's his name? New slave guy. I'm just gonna call him new slave guy. I'm not gonna take up time by thinking of his name. So new slave guy, we actually follow his POV for like the majority of season 2, and just kind of see Thorfinn's actions through him. You know, of course, Thorfinn is still the main character, so we still get a bunch of his POVs, specifically when he has these like PTSD flashbacks. Mostly in his dreams where he, I don't know, he falls off some cliff or something and he's dragged down by the hands of all the people he's killed. And he hates himself for this because he knows, you know, there's some initial beef between the two, between New Slave Guy and Thorfinn, because Thorfinn, of course, he worked for the Danes under Askeladd, quote unquote worked for the Danes. And New Slave Guy, he is an English, just a farmer. He's an English farmer whose life has been completely ruined by these Danes, who have pillaged and murdered everything around him. And they, of course, they need to confront this at some point. They haven't really confronted it yet, not directly at least. So I'm hoping that happens at some point. I don't know. I don't know. But you know, they are together, they're working, and again, it's a pretty sweet deal for all the slaves because of the slave owner. He treats them pretty well, so he gives them a plot of the land to just forage, to farm, to cut down the woods and make a whole farm out of that. And when they eventually make enough money to buy themselves free, they're just free. There's no more to it. And we've seen people who are, you know, have been slaves before. They're just chilling at the farm still. So, you know, it's obvious that they get treated very well. But it's, I don't know, it's an interesting concept. Also because we have this whole generation of, you know, the oldest guy is the old owner, farm owner, and he just lives out in a cabin in the middle of nowhere doing slave work. Then we have the owner, who is a previous warrior and now a farm slave owner, who really he doesn't want to punish his slaves, but he has to in order to keep balance and, you know, on his little farm. I say little farm, but it's a pretty big farm. They provide a lot of stuff for the king specifically, and there's something about, you know, because they pay the king such a massive tribute, the king needs to protect them so they don't get a lot of thieves and stuff. That's why protection is pretty loose on the farm. But there's begun to, you know, be some stealing going on, and I suppose that's gonna be a plot at some point. For now, it was just a plot of, you know, some local slaves stole because their mother was sick and their dad left to get milk and cigarettes, and that's the story of it. And then that's also where we get shown that this farm owner guy, he really doesn't want to actually hurt his little slaves, because he sees them as human at the end of the day. Why he makes them slaves in the first place puzzles me, but I suppose there's an answer at some point here. And to finish off the generation thingy, we have the two siblings. Ooh, I am so bad at names. But they are Chad Guy and Not Chad Guy. Not Chad Guy is home right now. He's just, you know, he helps out whenever he wants to, pretty much, which is not often. And he really wants to prove himself by going to the battlefield, as all young folks seem to do in the story. And essentially, he tries to scar up our boy Thorfinn, but he does not even flinch, because Thorfinn, he's a little teeny tiny tad bit suicidal right now because of all the shit he's done, and like, you know, why even live when there's nothing good coming out of it? And that's essentially the crux of Season 2, is, you know, him finding redemption in all that he's done. You know, he's murdered and pillaged countless people and villages in the name of getting revenge on Askeladd in a fair duel. And he didn't even get that, so what was it all for? You know, that's the essential parts in Season 2, and I like that. I like that a lot, that it kind of just slows down and thinks for a second, like, okay, what have we done, what have we learned? And I expect, not Askeladd, Thorfinn, I expect he becomes some sort of, like, preacher guy who just goes around and just, you know, when he finally figures out himself, and when he, I don't know, I'm expecting the what's his name, Life, to come back at some point and, you know, kick a thing or two into his skull. And, you know, at that point, he's gonna go around and be some sort of, like, father figure, I guess, to other people who are not particularly well. Because he has been through fucking hell and back. So, yeah, that's where I'm expecting the story to go. I didn't even finish the family tree. So, we also have a second son who is basically all that the first son wants to be. And he's very much going in his father's footsteps of, you know, becoming the Iron Fist, not specifically, but, you know, becoming a great warrior. And that's all the first son wants to be, and he's too fucking scared to actually fully commit to doing it. We even see him, the warrior guy son, bring home a necklace full of ears of dead English people. And that scares the shit out of the first son. So, you know, obviously, he is not cut out for this whatsoever. But he tries very hard to tell himself that he is. And I don't really know. I'm expecting this first son guy to be one of the first people who is affected by Thorfinn. Through some means. Also because they do have some sort of history together. Where, you know, he literally tried to, I don't know if he tried to kill Thorfinn, but he at least tried to intimidate him a lot. So they're probably, I don't know, probably gonna, like, bounce off each other of, you know, yeah, I really want to live, and yeah, I really want to die. So, you know, finding that middle ground is probably where it's gonna end up, for the two of them. I'm not sure whatsoever. I'm really not sure where the story is gonna go. Also in, you know, the future after Season 2, because I know there's more, and I know the story is not over. Even though it easily could have been. Like, just ending with the really, really somber note of Askeladd dying to the hands of Canute. I don't really know. There's also the question of, what does Canute do now? How does he, you know, again, because he is not king, but does he want to be king? I assume so, but he's not king right now, so what does that, where does that leave him in terms of, you know, political power? Because we see all of the people, he has a lot of power, but not, a lot of it is only made out of fear and not actual loyalty. A lot of it is also loyalty, so it's kind of finding the balance. There's a lot of opportunity here for either, I don't know, both him and his brother has a lot of death flags on them. That reminds me, I should add to the talking wheel, I should add Game of Thrones, because I don't think I've talked about that yet, other than one like 10-minute rant while I was drunk. I don't really know. TLDR, it's really good, and I cannot wait to see more. I've also, yeah, I don't know if that can constitute a whole video in and of itself, but we've been watching a lot more Breaking Bad. But you know, I've already watched it, so I don't have a lot of commentary other than the things I've already said. Yeah, I've already said a bunch of shit, like, you know, seeing the change Walter goes through, it's kind of funny. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. But yeah, in terms of Vinland Saga, there is only so much left of the anime, and I don't know how satisfying a conclusion it's gonna be. I kind of hope it's gonna be satisfying enough for me to at least wait until, you know, until there's just another season, and it's not a deep cliffhanger, so I'm gonna need to read it immediately. Not that I would be opposed to that, but I just know it's one of those series that the manga only comes out like once a month or something. Maybe even less than that. So yeah, that's gonna be funny when I eventually get there, and I'm gonna get there. I don't know. I don't have a lot of free time these days. Well, that's maybe a lie. I just got my schedule for work the next week, and I am working 6 out of 7 days of the week, 6 days in a row. So that's gonna be fire. A lot of it's quote-unquote shorter shifts, so I have time to finish Vinland Saga at some point, I'm pretty sure. I also have time to finish Elden Ring, and I also have time to, well, I guess that's not next week, but play some more Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter Wilds. Pretty wild, if I do say so myself. I gotta save that for another video. I gotta die soon because I'm running out of Vinland Saga stuff to yap about. But yeah, overall it is very good, and I can't really explain why. It's just I guess it's just the melancholy, you know, in between scenes of just, I don't really know. Even in this arc where there's nothing really happening, nothing really is going on, it's still like so much is going on character-wise, and also from, you know, all of these characters that we haven't even seen. I haven't even talked about Snake. Not that he's a, you know, very important figure, but he's prominent enough. He is the head bodyguard of this farm. I should have healed. He's the head bodyguard of this farm, and he is the one who split up Thorfinn and the not so warrior son, when the not so warrior son was talked into trying to actually kill one of the slaves. So yeah, I don't really know. It's oh crap! Why did you get up so fast? I don't know where I'm getting at, but he has pretty good relations with pretty much everyone on the farm, and you know, not really. It's again kind of like Prince Canute, General Canute, King Canute, man of many titles. It's both out of loyalty and respect and out of fear, because he is a strong fella, and he is one of the only people who actually recognizes Thorfinn's prowess as a warrior. And even when they, you know, they're slaves, they're just, a lot of the time it's just going, you know, chopping wood, farming crops. We have some sort of plot right now with the retainers just ravaging their farm, their newly grown crops, where they had to borrow some seeds or something, and now they had to wait another year and even borrow seeds there, so that adds a solid, like, 2 years to their imprisonment as slaves. You know, they still have an out, but it's a big fucking hindrance that they just ravaged up all their wheat, all their growing wheat. But yeah, it's still interesting, right? The snake guy, I don't really know what his motives really are, and where his, like, allegiances lie and stuff. But he is, you know, again, he's one of the only people, he knew exactly how to trigger the warrior deep inside of Thorfinn, and, you know, try to convince him that, hey, your reflexes of your body tell you that you want to live, so why do you want to die so badly? Essentially, Thorfinn just gave up his own life in order to save new slave guys, because, again, he doesn't seem to value his own life that much after all the atrocities he's done. And, you know, he comes to the realization that he is fucking hollow, and he needs to, you know, they have some interaction with the old slave owner. I don't know, they have some weird connection there with them borrowing horses for labor, because they desperately need horses to move a big ass plow around and move some logs and stuff. So they do some work for this old slave owner guy, who they don't know from the beginning is the slave owner guy. He's just an old fellow with a horse, which is pretty cool. But they get some sort of lesson from him that, like, oh yeah, you can, you know, if you are as empty as you say you are, you have a whole bunch to fill your heart with, or, you know, some deep philosophical stuff like that. I don't really know. He's a wild old geezer, as they tend to be. I got them all, hell yeah. So, yeah, that is, you know, he's teaching them lessons. Uh-oh. God damn it. And just, yeah, he's kind of, the old farmer guy, I don't really know what he's up to, but he's just chilling, and he's gonna die on this farm. He already said his goal is to die on the farm, because why? I don't really know, but that's his end goal. That was terribly played by me. I just stopped paying attention because I was so sure I had already won. Sloppy gameplay. Oh well. I have yapped long enough about Vinland Saga. I'm gonna go get some sleep now. I've been up since 4 AM. Oh well. Shit happens. Good night, fellas. Over and out.